of the various festivals celebrated by lighting candles. Diwali is the 5-day festival of lights celebrated by millions of Hindus, Sikhs, and Jains across the world. Hanukkah, the Hebrew word for dedication, is an 8-day Jewish holiday celebrating the rededication of the temple in Jerusalem in the 2nd century BC. Kwanzaa is an African American holiday celebrated by lighting a candle representing a different principle for 7 nights. Advent is the period celebrated in the Christian tradition leading up to Christmas. The season is celebrated by lighting 4 candles on the Advent wreath, representing hope, love, joy, and peace. Each week, a new flame is lit, gradually increasing light to represent the banishment of darkness, leading to the nativity and the birth of Jesus as the light of the world. The word Advent is derived from the Latin adventus that literally means coming. Waiting is charged with anticipation, and the intent of waiting during Advent is to prepare the heart in hope of receiving light with the birth of the Savior of the world. As Unitarian Universalists, we respect Christian traditions that celebrate the birth of Jesus, but so many are personally uncomfortable with the idea that he was the Christ. However, the inclusive nature of Unitarian Universalism and its acceptance of each person's spiritual path ensures that there will never be a single sanctioned way of celebrating Christmas. But celebrating the winter holiday is an excellent opportunity for Unitarian Universalists to express their commitment to our 6th principle. We covenant to affirm and promote the goal of world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all. Advent is a very special time of year that sometimes gets lost in the bright lights of the Christmas season that it precedes. However, with the arrival of winter's low, dark sky, communities around the world look to the miracle of light to dispel darkness as a sign of rebirth and a source of hope. Patient waiting is the key to a good Advent. But waiting is hard to do in a culture that tells us to rush ahead. Advent is also a season of hope, mitigating the despair of our world, which brings anxiousness and the failure to be patient. During this season, when we assume a posture of waiting, we choose to enter the story as it happened for those who came before us, with anticipation, longing, and hope. It's not a new practice for us to wait in the dark. As a country, we have lived through dark times of a depression and many wars, including most recently withdrawing troops from one that lasted 20 years. We live in a world of shadows, with societal fears about everything, from fear of the continued destruction of our planet and the environment, genetic modification of our food, the shortage of water, the dismantling of laws regulating clean air to breathe, and fear of the other. The other can be named as anyone or anything different from our particularity of race, religion, gender, location, and place of origin. However, nothing casts a longer shadow than the shared fear that we have lived with during the past 2 years. With the unseen threats to our health and normal way of life, we have been waiting and longing to an end of a pandemic and the desire to come out into the light of good health and well-being. As we see today with the COVID-19 pandemic, waiting is a struggle for many people, with the longing that we have for it to be over, as well as a desire to stop taking precautions against it. It has made people wait on what comes after this and what comes about because of this pandemic, but also waiting on what counteracts or mitigates the anxiousness and very often the lack of patience that exists in our lives in the instantaneous kind of world that we live in. Perhaps the waiting through a pandemic's restrictions and activities can be considered a time to make Advent what it's intended to be. A season that reminds us to wait and be ever watchful for the holy, that shows up in the ordinary circumstances of life. Circumstances faced while waiting for an end to social distancing and re-entry into the light of a shared community of faith. We are, because of necessity, living in an unfamiliar atmosphere. From the standpoint of our health and welfare, much of our usual indulgence of hustle and bustle in this season are different or off limits altogether. Socializing and getting together for parties, even sharing coffee and conversation during coffee hour is different. Perhaps the goal can be to turn this waiting into a time of retreat, a time for deep reflection, a time to stop doing what we usually do, to settle down and opening our hearts to Spirit. Together, each of the 4 candles of Advent tells the part of the Christmas story of Bethlehem. Shepherds and angels, beginning with hope that keeps us motivated. To accomplish great things in life, we need future goals, and that means having hope. The message from the angels to the shepherds was, and I quote, "I bring you good tidings of great joy for all people, peace on earth and goodwill to men." If you were to ask anyone on the street what is the most joyful time of the year, without hesitation, the response would be the Christmas season. Christmas is not just joy to America. It's not a national joy or a racial or a cultural joy. It's joy to the world, universal joy. But even in this joyful time of year, we see shadows of sadness. Families who have lost loved ones, people in prison, people who are isolated and alone. Many people are food insecure and without the warmth of a bed to sleep in. But there's always hope. Bringers of light and messengers of joy. Many here in this congregation who anticipate the good and look for it in themselves and others are bringers of that goodwill. We are the light of the world when we fight despair within ourselves and side with hope. We are the light of the world each time we face injustice and despair to stand on the side of love. Will there ever be peace on earth? No one is against peace. I believe that at our basic human level, we all desire constructive, fruitful growth and dislike destruction and wish to be peaceful. However, peace is not just the absence of war. It requires hard work and constant attention because peace is a process, not a thing, a journey, or a destination. It begins in each heart. We are the light of the world when we try to overcome differences with understanding and working to solve conflicts by peaceful means. As we turn toward our holiday celebrations and search for common threads of meaning, it's important to look at ourselves to see how we can contribute to being one of a savior in our broken world. In recent years, the celebration of Chalica, a uniquely Unitarian Universalist winter holiday, has been gaining in popularity with families all across the country. Chalica runs for 7 days, usually from the first Monday in December through the following Sunday. Each day represents a different Unitarian Universalist, and each evening, a chalice is lit by families in their homes to celebrate their UU identity and heritage. Gifts may be exchanged as part of celebrating Chalica, but they are usually handmade and could even be a verbal offering, a written promise, or an act of service tied to the theme of our 7 principles. For example, the family chalice is lit for justice, equity, and compassion in human relations. And gifts might be given to promote ideals such as spending time in service at a soup kitchen, donating new clothes or toys to local organizations that work to reduce poverty, or intentionally offering kindness to others. Unlike other winter holidays, celebrating Chalica or some variation of it offers a Unitarian Universalist family the opportunity to celebrate their unique faith in a holiday that highlights and celebrates our living tradition. With its specific emphasis on the principles, Chalica can serve as a learning tool for children who are eager to learn what makes their religion unique from others and encourage a rich sense of Unitarian Universalist identity. As we re-enter this space as a community of faith, celebrating this season of light in its various dialects of spirit, may you be the light of hope, joy, peace, and love. From my heart to yours, may it be so.